The pattern of observance begins with my great-grandfather Teddy, who changed his level of observance from secular to Orthodox after the death of his mother. This change was seen again in my grandfather Howie, who changed his level of observance from conservative to more observant after he retired. My mother Heidi similarly changed her own level of observance from conservative to modern Orthodox when marrying my father. This pattern demonstrated shows the impact that secular life events such as the death of a loved one, retiring, and getting married had on the Jewish identity of each generation of my family. As an adult, my great-grandfather Teddy lived in America as a non-religious Jew, but later in life, after the secular life event of the death of his mother, he became extremely observant due to feelings of obligation towards her. Teddy was born in Lublin, Poland in 1907. When he was 14, in order to escape being drafted into the Polish army, he fled with his father to America. After arriving at Ellis Island, Teddy and his father never left New York City. 85% of immigrants went through New York City, which was known as the Promised City to Eastern European Jews. In 1915, 6 years before Teddy and his father arrived, there were 1.4 million Jews living in New York City, making up 28% of the city's population. Over the next decade, the number of Jews in New York City continued to increase. New York's fast-growing clothing trade was perfect for Teddy, who later became a furrier. Teddy would often play his violin on the roof of his building. After seeing from his rooftop a woman who also worked in the clothing industry named Bertha, he serenaded her. The two soon married in Brooklyn and 9 months later gave birth to Howie. While living in America, Teddy lived his life secularly, despite his parents who had been extremely religious. Teddy rarely went to synagogue and would celebrate the Jewish holidays through eating. On Saturdays, he would enjoy going shopping with Bertha, and he raised his children with this secular lifestyle. In 1949, Teddy's mother was dying in the hospital. On her deathbed, she told him, "I want to die happy. I want you should become observant." Teddy agreed, and when he came home, sprung this on Bertha. This secular life event motivated them to keep a kosher diet, follow more of the commandments, and to attend synagogue daily. Teddy remained Orthodox until he died in 1975. My grandfather Howie, throughout his adult life, lived as a conservative Jew. After the secular life event of retiring and being given the gift of time, he indulged in his love of Judaism by becoming more observant and Jewishly involved. Howie was born in Brooklyn on December 3, 1932. He lived in an apartment with his mother Bertha, his father Teddy, his younger siblings Sheldon and Anise. Howie loved living in New York City and did not feel like an outsider living in a city with a huge Jewish population. Howie celebrated all the holidays and would go to synagogue with his friends while his parents stayed at home. Every Shabbat, Howie would go to synagogue with his cousin Seymour because they enjoyed hearing the prayers and listening to the rabbi's sermon. When Howie was 18, after Howie's father became Orthodox upon the death of his grandmother, his father yelled at him for arriving late to synagogue. Teddy humiliated Howie and told him to leave. Howie argued that Teddy was himself a latecomer to religious observance and was being hypocritical for being mad at Howie after all his years of ignoring Jewish observance. After this episode, Howie stopped attending synagogue services until after his marriage. When he was 25, Howie met Bobby at a country club hotel. On the first night they met, Howie told Bobby he would marry her, and 2 years later, he did. Bobby wanted to keep kosher and follow more Jewish laws, but Howie said no, as he knew his mother was unhappy being Orthodox after his father had sprung it on her, and did not want to join her in being unhappy. Howie and Bobby moved from Brooklyn to Edison, New Jersey in 1961. This is a common thing to do, as 1/3 of all American Jews left cities for the suburbs between 1945 and 1965. Suburbs were a symbol of class and wealth, which is where Howie and Bobby raised their children. Howie was fond of the religious yet modern lifestyle Bobby had grown up with, and they raised their children the same way. They worked to find a balance between observing the Jewish holidays while living the life they wanted. They sent their children to Jewish day camps and on trips to Israel when they were older. They became affiliated with the conservative movement which was growing because of its middle-of-the-road message. When Howie was around 67, he retired from his full-time job. With this newfound time on his hands, he began to read more regularly, and his topics of choice were Jewish history and about the Jewish people. This education, coupled with the ability to instantly research and read on the internet, led to Howie's knowledge of and connection to Judaism become stronger. When he was first married, his Jewish identity was centered around tradition, but he later realized that Judaism was not just following rules, but understanding where they came from. Howie has also become more passionate about Israel. He believes that the Jewish people in America could not exist without Israel. He feels responsible as a Jew to ensure all of his grandchildren are Jewishly engaged. In 2009, Howie volunteered with his daughter Heidi to help the Israeli army. Volunteering on an IDF base was an amazing experience for him, as he felt as though he was helping Israel and fulfilling a personal dream to serve. The secular life event of retirement resulted in Howie now attending synagogue services at the Chabad of West Boynton Beach each Shabbat morning, which he had not done since he was a teenager. Even though he does not know how to read the Hebrew prayers, he recites them by heart. My mother, Heidi, was raised conservative, but after the secular life event of marrying and having the ability to create a new life with her husband, became modern Orthodox in her search for greater religious fulfillment. Heidi was born on January 13, 1970 in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. She was the youngest of 4 sisters, Mara, Jody, and Sherry. Heidi grew up in a Jewish neighborhood with a strong Jewish community. She celebrated all of the major Jewish holidays by going to synagogue and cooking holiday meals. At public schools, surrounded by teens from all over the area, Heidi felt like the other and felt uncomfortable having a different background. Heidi attended graduate school at New York University. In 1995, she participated in a summer program on the history of Eastern European Jewry and the Holocaust in Krakow, Poland, through NYU and Jagiellonian University. The experience had a strong impact on her Judaism and caused her to take it more seriously. After walking through the death camps, Heidi became aware that Israel is the insurance policy for all Jews. While in Poland, Heidi met William, with whom she quickly formed a connection. Talking with survivors at the camp changed both Heidi and William and made them feel more committed to living as Jews and one day raising a Jewish family. On August 31, 1997, Heidi and William got married. In 2000, they moved to Washington, D.C. At the time, Heidi was pregnant with their first child, Lily, and knew this was an opportunity to become more observant. They were not around family and had the ability to do their own thing and create their own new lives. The secular life event of moving to a new city and starting a family motivated them to become modern Orthodox, as they believed that becoming more observant would bring them a deeper sense of fulfillment. This was a common Jewish trend in the late 20th century, as the Orthodox movement revitalized. Thousands of young Jews who had affiliated differently while growing up now joined the Orthodox movement, making the community stronger and full of youth. They were referred to as Baal Teshuvah, which means returning Jews. According to an Orthodox Jewish newspaper, many of the newcomers were, quote, world-traveled college students who had experienced everything the big world had to offer, end quote. These people found meaning in the traditional Jewish texts and rituals that they hadn't found before. This is very similar to my parents, who after traveling through Eastern Europe, had a different perspective on their own religion and suddenly saw the benefits of becoming more observant. Heidi and William raised Lily and her sister Ariana, born 2 years later, in this manner. They placed them in Jewish schools, attended synagogues with them every week, traveled with them every year to Israel, and followed the Orthodox observance of Jewish law. The love for Israel felt by Howie has similarly found itself in Heidi, who has visited Israel nearly 20 times. Heidi works for a pro-Israel organization called Israel Forever and tries to promote the Jewish connection to Israel. Heidi feels as though it is her responsibility as a Jew to leave the world better than it was found. I was born in 2000, and in 2002, my little sister Ariana was born. I've attended the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School since kindergarten, and have been to Israel close to 15 times. I was raised modern Orthodox, but after entering middle school, in tandem with the logistical pressures of being an independent teenager, sought the freedom to be more secularly active on weekends, and changed my religious observance to being more flexible about Shabbat activities. This follows my family's pattern as a secular life event, such as middle school, caused me to change my level of observance. As to my future level of Jewish observance, I am certain that the multi-generational family tradition of shifting based on secular life events will continue, and that like my forebears, I will seek out and find the Jewish place that works best for me and my family. I will continue to support and stand up for Israel in college and beyond, and definitely want my future children to understand the Jewish values as it affected my life in such a tremendous way.